evening. You're watching ARIRANG News at 8. It's Tuesday, February 18th here in Korea. Live from Seoul, I am Yoo Ji-hye. We begin this evening with a building collapse in the southern city of Gyeongju. It has claimed the lives of at least 10 people and injured more than 100 others, mostly college students. Emergency crews are still on the scene with rescue and recovery operations now in their final stages. Eoh Jin-joo has the latest.
It only took about 10 seconds for the roof of an auditorium at a resort hotel in the city of Gyeongju, Gyeongsangnam-do province, to collapse on Monday night. Some 560 students from the Busan University of Foreign Studies were in the middle of an orientation event for the freshman class when the ceiling started to crumble above a stage setup in the front. 10 people have been confirmed dead and more than 120 injured, with 1 or 2 people in critical condition.
Everyone was sitting comfortably on the ground, but then everyone was heading to the exits all at once, and it was total chaos.
As for what caused the collapse, the area had received a record level of snow over the past week, and the snow that had piled up on the roof was estimated to weigh nearly 150 tons. The building was huge at 900 square meters, but had no pillars to support the roof. Compounding matters, the ceiling and outer walls of the auditorium were made of sandwich panels, which are usually used to build temporary structures or storage spaces. Sandwich panels are made out of thin steel plates filled with styrofoam and are known to easily absorb moisture. Even though the snow seems likely to be the primary culprit, many experts are pointing to the weakness of the building structure as the main factor behind the collapse. The government and the police have launched an investigation into how the building was constructed to determine whether the auditorium was up to code or built shoddily. President Park Geun-hye, during a cabinet meeting Tuesday morning, expressed grief over the tragic incident and offered her condolences to the victims' families. She also ordered a thorough investigation into the cause of the accident. Eoh Jin-joo, ARIRANG News.
And moving now to the aftermath of a tragic bombing attack in Egypt. My police there say they believe a suicide bomber associated with an al-Qaeda-linked Islamist group carried out Sunday's bus explosion that killed 4 people, including 3 Koreans. Our Hwang Sung-hee reports.
Egyptian security forces say a suicide bomber was probably behind Sunday's deadly bus bombing in Sinai that killed 4 people, including 3 Koreans. After reviewing CCTV footage of the attack, police concluded a suicide bomber had boarded the tourist bus and detonated his explosives near the door. A spokesman from Egypt's Interior Ministry said Monday that the preliminary investigation shows some tourists disembarked to get their bags when a man walked onto the bus and an explosion followed when he reached the 3rd step. The bus, carrying mostly Korean tourists, was waiting to cross into Israel at the border when the blast took place. An al-Qaeda-linked Islamist group, Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis, has claimed responsibility for the bombing, saying it had previously warned it was planning an attack. In an online statement Monday, the group promised to continue to target the state's leaders and economy by hitting tourism sites and blowing up natural gas pipelines, and threatened additional attacks in the next few days. Sunday's bombing was the first targeting tourists since the overthrow of President Mohamed Morsi last July, sparking fears Islamic militants are turning to attack Egypt's tourism industry, which is a pillar of the country's economy. Meanwhile, 15 survivors who were not harmed in the attack had been expected to return to Korea on Tuesday, but they're still in Israel as they're struggling to find a flight home. An official at the Korean embassy said the group is planning to board a flight from Istanbul and added they are scheduled to arrive home on Wednesday afternoon. Another group of 15 Koreans who were all injured in Sunday's bombing are expected to depart for Korea on Friday. Some of them will need additional medical operations. As for the 3 Koreans who were killed, the process of returning their bodies is ongoing. Kwon So-ah, ARIRANG News.
And for more on Sunday's atrocious attack and the spread of fear in the region, we go one-on-one with Dr. Kim Byung-joo, head of KLNP Consulting and a commentator on ARIRANG News. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Right, approximately 30,000 Koreans visited Israel last year,
Right.
and many of them paid a visit to the Sinai Peninsula, where the attack actually happened. Now,
Right.
why do so many Koreans actually go there in the first place, despite government warnings?
Religious and geographical reasons, the way I see it. Religiously, the Mount Sinai, which is located in this Sinai Peninsula itself, is the mountain where Moses received his 10 commandments from the God. So this is a very holy land in a way. For those Koreans who go for pilgrimage trips, this is pretty much almost a must-go place. Without this place, a big part is missing indeed. So for religious reasons, this is indeed no-nonsense choice there. Geographically as well, because it's right behind the border from Israel, a lot of Koreans feel that's very close to Israel, meaning that inside Israel is relatively safe. They assume that it will be the case, even though all these wild stories coming out about the entire Egypt being in turmoil. So there seems to be that kind of naive assumption that being close to Israel itself will guarantee them, relatively speaking, greater safety. But the thing is, however, Korean tourists often forget that there have been cases for Koreans being attacked. Back in 2012, there were 3 Koreans who were affected by this terrorist attack as well. So indeed, not this kind of bombing this time. It was more like a kidnapping attempt and all that. So the problem is we have short-term memory, especially those Koreans who travel there. So that is the core of the matter here.
And tour operators also, they have been long insisting that Israel and Egypt is a safe place to travel. Now that's going to change after the latest incident.
I think we need more time on that one. For immediate future, perhaps your forecast or expectation would be the case. However, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But since you mentioned the traveling business themselves, they are supposed to provide full information to their customers about the possible dangers and so on. But of course, that has negative impact on their business. So I think there's a limit to which, for us, kind of like expect self-restraint there. But I think we should ask for more of this information disclosure and providing enough information to their clients for sure. After a long time, I'm not sure. I mean, the situation in Egypt will change as well. So what's really important for Korean tourists is to get themselves constantly updated about the conditions, about the destination that they're traveling to. Korean government itself has a website dedicated to that, www.numbers0404.go.kr, and there you have a full list of the countries where Korean government holds concerns about the travels. So indeed, as an individual accountability and responsibility, I think we all should need to check those information.
And like digging deeper into the latest attack, it is believed that the Al-Qaeda-linked militant group is responsible for the explosion. Can you tell us what they are after and why they're targeting innocent tourists?
They're talking about Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda is pretty much all around the Middle Eastern region, even though their characteristics change and their overall tendencies change and their links are changing. Here, I think what's important is to be reminded that this is not just the pure Al-Qaeda, but also the Islam fundamentalist who holds grievance against the current Egyptian government that's supported by the military. And as we know, this military-supported government toppled Mohamed Morsi's government, and Morsi is strongly supported by the Islam fundamentalists. So to just issue a statement against the current government and then send a warning to all around the world, I'm sure the terrorists, I can't say I'm sure, but I suppose the terrorists wanted to try this one. And we're not sure whether they specifically targeted Korean tourists, but looks like they were targeting foreign tourists so that they can maximize the impact around the world.
Do you see more such attacks in the region?
We're not sure about that at this point, but for sure the Egyptian political situation there is not settled and it's not improving at this point. So for Egypt, for one, and there are lots of countries that have growing concerns, and we need to talk more about those in Korean media and in public discourses.
With that being said, like only after the incident, Korea's foreign ministry issued a travel warning alert calling for the evacuation of the citizens from the region. And is the government doing enough to ensure safety and security of Korean Korean citizens there? And if not, what more should be done?
I have a firm conviction that Korean government is doing all it can to provide maximum protection to the Korean citizens. I'm saying that because based on my own experience, working experience with Korean Ministry of Foreign Affairs regarding their consular services, they're doing all they can, and they're providing all the information, and they're providing the services from the call centers, for instance, right? I don't know how many countries around the world whose people can actually get those text messages when they arrive in a different country, and that has direct link to emergency numbers and so on. Of course, declaring Egypt as a more heightened alert level itself, that had to be done after the fact. And then before then, it's unfair for Korean media to criticize Korean government for not doing enough, because Egypt was classified as a top 3 or top 4 out of 5 scale of the potentially dangerous area. So individual tourists should have been informed of that. It's partly their fault, partly their travel agent's fault, and so on. Of course, seriously, our heart goes out to the people who lost their family members, for sure.
Of course.
But for the future itself, government is doing all it can, and I cannot think of any other extra steps. Forbidding all the foreign trips, that's not constitutional thing. So government itself is doing all it can. So Korean people should be better informed and better educated in that sense. And for Korean media, inside Korean media, I don't think ARIRANG TV is responsible for that, but Korea's mainstream Korean media itself should deal with more of the international news, to share the sense of danger and risks that Koreans can face overseas, together with just sense of what's going on around the world, human suffering in Syria and South Sudan, all that kind of stuff, to be just moralistic about what's going on around the world, and at the same time protecting ourselves.
Well said. Thank you very much, Dr. Kim, for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Touch base with journalists, experts, and analysts who are taking the pulse of Asia's heartbeat.
South Korea's defense minister.
In a lively half hour, join ARIRANG's Yoo Ji-hye for the day's top stories, current affairs, business, technology trends, plus global weather forecasts and more. ARIRANG News. Every weeknight, live on ARIRANG TV.
The National Assembly wants answers about what happened last month when millions of people had personal information leaked as part of a massive data breach. On Tuesday, the 2 individuals believed to be responsible for that very incident had some tough questions to answer. Our Kim Young-gil has the details.
It was the biggest data breach in Korean history, with millions of people affected. At a hearing on Tuesday, lawmakers heard testimony from the 2 main suspects in the case, an employee at the Korea Credit Bureau, a ratings agency who is accused of stealing the personal information of more than 100 million people from bank and credit card firms in recent months. He is suspected of selling the information to an advertising agency executive for 23 million won, or a little less than $22,000.
It was purely spontaneous, and I did it for personal reasons. I didn't give the data to a broker.
The majority of the 24-person committee said the man should be indicted for perjury. Both men, if convicted, could face up to 10 years in prison or a fine of up to $500,000. Lawmakers also presented evidence from their own investigations. One lawmaker presented evidence that a foreign broker had traded Korean client information with a Korean broker. Another lawmaker on the committee said he had never used a KB Kookmin credit card, but that his personal information has still been stolen. He had traced the leak to a single transaction made 20 years ago at a KB Kookmin bank. He said there should be laws imposing harsher punishments on firms that do not control the way client data is shared among institutions and their affiliates. Finance Minister Hyun Oh-seok said the government is doing all it can to prevent additional leaks in the future.
We are planning to thoroughly overhaul the way we penalize companies that are responsible for data breaches. We are also working with other government bodies on related legislation.
The government is also planning to impose hefty fines of up to 1% of a company's total sales if they are subject to future data breaches. CEOs from the 3 credit card firms KB Kookmin, Lotte, and Nongyup, from which the personal data of up to 20 million Koreans was leaked last month, said they had strengthened monitoring of their employees and established new policies to better control the sharing of customer information between affiliates. Kim Young-gil, ARIRANG News.
We have just 2 days to go until the much-anticipated cross-border family reunions, and President Park Geun-hye says the two Koreas need to find a way to hold more of the events. At a cabinet meeting on this Tuesday, Park said only a fraction of the 3,800 South Koreans who applied to be reunited with family in the north will have the opportunity to do so. Only 83 South Korean family members will cross the border on Thursday morning for the upcoming round of reunions. President Park again urged North Korea to keep its promise to the South and reiterated that her government will deal with humanitarian affairs separate from military or political issues. Japan wants to hold high-level talks with Korea to mend their faltering relations, which have been sinking to new lows. The call for dialogue comes ahead of U.S. President Barack Obama's visit to Asia in April. But with historical disputes still at the fore, the prospect of improved ties appears grim. Eoh Jin-joo has this report.
Korea-Japan relations, which remain strained due to territorial and historical disputes, took a dive in December when Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visited the controversial Yasukuni War Shrine, a shrine that honors World War II-era war criminals. In an aim to break over 2 months of silence and mend ties, Japanese Foreign Minister Fumio Kishida at a news conference on Tuesday expressed a will to meet with his South Korean counterpart Yoon Byung-se. He emphasized the importance of trilateral cooperation between Japan, the United States, and South Korea in the face of the threats posed by North Korea. Kishida had already conveyed hopes for high-level talks when he met with Korea's second Vice Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol last month in Switzerland on the sidelines of an international conference. The new call for talks comes ahead of U.S. President Barack Obama's visit to Asia this April. Earlier this month, at a meeting in Washington, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry urged Kishida and Japan to improve relations with Korea ahead of President Obama's visit. High-level talks do not seem imminent, however, as there has been no resolution to speak of on the historical disputes that divide Korea and Japan. Japan has yet to offer compensation to the so-called comfort women who were forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese military during the Second World War. And this Saturday, Japan will hold a controversial event stressing its claim to Korea's easternmost islets of Dokdo, or Takeshima as they are called in Japan, despite Seoul's repeated calls to scrap the event. Yoo Jin-joo, ARIRANG News.
High-ranking military officials from Korea and Germany held defense talks in Seoul on Tuesday for the first time in 3 years. The 11th Korea-Germany Defense Policy Meeting was a chance for the International Policy Director of Korea's Defense Ministry, Eoh Jin-joo, and his German counterpart Torsten Keller to discuss military exchange programs. Regional security issues topped the agenda, along with finding ways to work more closely on international peacekeeping operations. It also provided Korea an opportunity to glean a better understanding of how the armed forces of East and West Germany were integrated following reunification in 1990, and how the lessons learned could apply to possible reunification with North Korea. Sochi used to be a sleepy resort city where the rich and powerful would seek respite on the Black Sea while enjoying winter sports on the mountains. But that city now is bustling with tens of thousands of people from all corners of the world. Our Olympics correspondent Song Ji-san reports on the excitement in the air in Sochi.
Practically everyone walking around Sochi is decked out in Olympics merchandise or their team uniform, and those who aren't are lined up at shops.
I waited to buy some clothes during 50 minutes. It's cool, I think.
And even if you weren't lucky enough to get a ticket to the games, you can still be part of the Olympic excitement. Here at downtown Sochi, the Olympic vibe is alive both among domestic and foreign fans who have gathered here for the Olympics. You can buy souvenirs, watch ongoing games, and cheer for your favorite athletes here at one of the live sites across the city. With tickets harder to get each day, the sites have become a place for all to join. Despite early reports that Sochi wasn't fully prepared for the Games, fans are enjoying every moment, and avid Olympic fans who have been following the Winter Olympics even before the Sochi Games are already looking ahead to 2018, when the global event will be held in Pyeongchang.
So far, everything has been fantastic. The volunteers have been really helpful whenever we're getting lost, and yeah, everything's been really well organized. And
so we went to Vancouver in 2010. We've been here, and now 2018 we're planning to go to see the next set of games.
To these fans, the only pity is that the Olympics last for just a little over 2 weeks, and another wait of 4 years is right around the corner, just as it is for the athletes. 송지선, ARIRANG News, Sochi.
And now for today's highlights and the latest out of the games, let's go over to our Connie Lee, who's been following the events at the News Center. Connie, let's start with some of the competitions that just ended. I hear Korean athletes did exceptionally well in short track speed skating. Tell us more.
Well, just moments ago, I have some good news to tell you. In the ladies' relay race, 3,000-meter relay race, the Korean women took home the gold. Now, there was no controversy over that as they took home the gold, and the girls are actually crying right now with tears of joy. You can see here we have Shim Seok-ki, Cho Ha-ri, and Kim Ha-rang and Park Seung-hee. Now, this is the second gold medal for Korea here at Sochi, and we can expect more probably later today. And the silver medal for the 3,000-meter relay race actually went to Canada, the bronze to Italy. So Korean team is celebrating tonight. But before all the relay race excitement, we also had the ladies' short track heats with all 3 of the Korean ladies contending, making it to the quarterfinals for Saturday. Now, the 3 ladies, Shim Seok-ki, Park Seung-hee, and Kim Ha-rang, all finished first in their groups. And we also had the men's 500-meter heats with Park Se-hyung and In Han-bin finishing at the top. Now, short track is always an exciting event to watch, especially for Team Korea. And fans have a lot to look forward to in the finals on Saturday. Now let's get ready for the records coming out of Sochi on Monday. First, congrats to the team USA, Meryl Davis and Charlie White, who won America's first Olympic gold medal in ice dance. Now on Monday, the couple danced to Russian classical music and are being praised for their storytelling, speed, and precision. The couple finished with a total score of 195.52, beating their rivals and training mates from Canada, Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer. These people won gold at the 2010 Winter Olympics, but this year the Canadians had to settle for a silver. And Korean bobsledders did not win a medal on Monday, but this year's Olympics was an achievement of itself for the men who competed. In the 2-man bobsleigh event on Monday, Won Yun-jong and Seo Young-woo didn't come close to winning a medal, but their 18th place finish was best ever by a Korean Olympic bobsleigh team. Won and Seo now have their eyes set on the next Winter Olympics here in Korea in Pyeongchang, and expectations are high for them in 2018. Now, there was also a second Korean team with Kim Dong-hyun and Chun Jung-lin competing in the event. They finished 25th and failed to qualify for the final run, but they too have 4 years to get ready for the next Olympics. Now, along with the gold medal from just a few moments ago, Team Korea has another chance for a medal tonight in the men's 10,000-meter speed skating event. In less than 2 hours from now at 10 o'clock Korea time, Korea's 25-year-old Lee Seung-hoon will race for a medal. Here, he will try to redeem himself from finishing 12th in the 500-meter race last week. Now, at the 2010 Winter Olympics, Lee won the gold in the 10,000-meter race, so tonight we'll see if he can defend that title. So on this Tuesday in the medal standings at the Sochi Olympics, I can tell you now that Korea went up a few notches. They're at 15th place now, not 17th, with their extra gold medal from tonight. Now Germany is still number 1 though, with a total of 8 gold medals. Russia moved up to 2nd place with a total of 18 medals, and the Netherlands in 3rd. And the US is back in the top 5 with 5 gold medals, and Norway is in 5th. So Korea is moving up on top. Now let's take a look at the rest of the schedule for today and early tomorrow. That's all I have for you right now. I'll be back at 10 o'clock. Ji-hye.
All right, lots to look forward to there. Thank you very much, Connie Lee, reporting live from the ARIRANG News Center on all the latest out of Sochi, and she'll be back with more updates on our primetime news at 10 p.m. Korea time. Speaking of Sochi, let's go over to our Kim Bo-kyung at the Weather Center to find out whether Mother Nature is cooperating for all the athletes. Now, Bo-kyung.
Good evening, Ji-hye. Well, with temperatures remaining in the mid-teens, many were worried about the warm spring-like weather conditions over in Sochi. However, numbers dropped to the low teens on Sunday, and Tuesday looks to be a rainy day over in Sochi. Back here in the nation, some parts of the East Coast regions are seeing on and off snow showers due to westerly winds. Well, as of 4 p.m., heavy snowfall advisories have been lifted, and it looks like the East Coast regions will get a break from all the snow tomorrow. But before all that happens, through later tonight, the Gangwon-do and Gyeongsangnam-do provinces could get another 7 centimeters of snow. Also, please keep in mind that another round of snow awaits us on Thursday. Taking a look at tomorrow's readings, Seoul, Daegu, and Busan reach 6 degrees. Meanwhile, Gwangju tops out at 8. Moving on to other regions, it will be a cloudy day on Jeju. Meanwhile, Dokdo and Mount Kumgang make it to 1 and -7 degrees respectively. Well, that's all I have for you this hour, and back to you, Ji-hye.
And that's all the news we are following at this hour. I'm Yoo Ji-hye in Seoul. Thanks for watching.